Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the first webinar in the 2025-2026 FCM Collective series. We're excited to kick things off with an important conversation about rail safety in our communities, and we're pleased to host today's conversation during National Rail Safety Week. Today's session is entitled Track Smart: Safety, Innovation, Service. My name is Evan Clark, and I'm the Manager of Partnerships and Sponsorship at FCM, and I'm pleased to welcome our presenting partners and subject matter experts from CN today. They'll provide an update on new technology CN is using to keep everyone safe, and some keys to collaboration for municipalities where rails are concerned. As FCM moves forward with our commitment to reconciliation, I want to acknowledge that FCM's head office is located on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. As an organization, FCM endeavors to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices, grow in knowledge, and adapt our ways of working. As we continue to build meaningful relationships, we recognize the historic and ongoing contributions of Indigenous peoples and honor their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening communities across the country. I welcome you to acknowledge the land you are joining us from. Now, before I turn things over to the experts, I have just a few housekeeping items to mention. L'interprétation simultanée est disponible pour notre session aujourd'hui. Pour accéder à l'audio en français, il faut simplement cliquer la petite icône du globe au bas de l'écran vers la droite et sélectionner le français. If you do not select a language, you will hear the live audio in English. Je vous donne quelques secondes pour faire le choix de langue. Now, if you'd like to ask a question today, and we encourage you to, my colleagues will have posted a link to a Slido page where you can post those questions. We'll plan to leave ample time for questions towards the end of today's session, which I'll help facilitate by pulling your questions in from Slido. Finally, please note that the session is being recorded and will be available on demand on the FCM website. Now, as we mark Rail Safety Week, this is a timely opportunity to reflect on the responsibility we have to keep our communities safe. With growing populations and expanding infrastructure, the need for proactive safety measures around railways has never been greater. This session is intended to support community leaders to better understand the strategies, technologies, and methods employed to ensure safe and sustainable railway operations, and to offer guidance on how to collaborate to resolve issues in your community to create safer environments for everyone. I'd now like to introduce you to our presenters for today's session. First, a warm welcome to Jackie Sapp, Senior Manager of Public Works and Planning at CN. With over 30 years of experience in railway infrastructure and public works, Jackie brings a wealth of knowledge in safety, regulatory compliance, and project execution. Based in Homewood, Illinois, she leads CN's public works team across Canada and the United States, serving as a vital link between government agencies, external stakeholders, and internal departments. Jackie's leadership plays a critical role in protecting CN's crews and the public, especially where rail operations intersect with growing communities. I'm also glad to welcome Wang Tran, Senior Director of Regulatory System Safety and Passenger Operations at CN. Since joining CN in 2018, Wang has held several key leadership roles, including Director of Passenger Operations, Chief of Staff to the President and CEO, and Superintendent of Network Operations. His extensive experience spans regulatory compliance, operating practices, and workforce planning. Prior to CN, Wang spent over 2 decades at Via Rail, where he developed deep expertise in network operations and safety oversight. Wang brings a strategic and collaborative approach to rail safety. And now I'll turn it over to you both to take us through your presentation.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here today to share CN's safety message with everyone. The purpose of our presentation is following the East Palestine and Lake Lac-Megantic tragedies, CN decided to take a step further, not investing in safety, because that's what we already do, but ensuring that elected officials and stakeholders in the communities through which we operate understand the measures we take in moving goods from point A to B safely and sustainably. Today, we hope to impart on you a better understanding of the information and messaging in this presentation. Through our goals and objectives, you will learn more and understand better what CN does and invests in as far as procedures, innovation, and technology on the track, beside the track, and above the track. But after today's presentation, you will understand our key messages, which are: safety is a core value at CN. We mean it. It's not just words. It's something we do every day. We invest on, beside, and above the track in safety technology, and how we partner and support communities through which we operate with safety training and development, community partnerships and outreach, and using our firefighting fleet. Next slide, please. Next slide. Who are we and what is our purpose? Oh, can you go back? Thank you. Our purpose is to power the economy. As you can see, we have over 18,000 miles of track that span 3 coasts: the western coast of Canada, the eastern coast of Canada, and all the way down into the US on the Gulf Coast by New Orleans. We have over 25,000 employees across Canada and the US, over 500 train starts every day, over 15,000 shipments moving every day, which equates to 6 million shipments per year, over 1,500 high horsepower locomotives with 115,000 active cars online on any given day. Next slide, please. Technology, how we enhance railroad safety. Next slide. We use several tools to enhance railroad safety. 1, drones. We can avoid sending employees into potentially dangerous situations and can assist with inspection and planning. 2, autonomous track inspection program, or ATIP. You'll hear more about this later, but it's a boxcar that runs in rail service with technology that enables proactive infrastructure risk management, maximizing network efficiency, and assists engineering with work planning. We use automated portals, assist to identify and address over 1,000 critical defects, preventing potential failures in our fleet. ETAV allows engineering crews to ensure that they are working within their permissible track limitations and includes audible warnings when they're outside of safe working track limits. We use PTC in the US and soon to be implemented in Canada, also known as ETC, which will reduce risks of runaway trains and collisions. Enable-on, effective mitigation of potential hazards on our network or customer sidings, and can report dangerous situations which can be further analyzed and addressed by our safety teams. Acoustic bearing detectors, which assess wheel bearing sound signatures to identify compromised components well in advance of heat generating failures. Wheel profile detectors create an image of the wheel profile to detect abnormalities in the wheel profile. And we use additional waysides where you can learn more information on cn.ca safety and look at many of the other detectors we have deployed across our network, such as dragging equipment detectors. Next slide, please. This is the Autonomous Track Inspection Program, also known as ATIP. These are cars that can perform track inspections to help identify defects that require repair and maintenance. Over time, the tools used for these inspections have evolved from simply using high rail vehicles to visually inspect track, typically at slower speeds, to equipment like an ATIP car that is attached to a revenue train operating at track speed. Think about impacts on network efficiency that come from tools like this. If you look at the pictures to the right of your screen, you will note that there is a truck. That truck is also known as a high rail vehicle. That has been the historical standard for visual track inspections. But above that is the ATIP car. It's a white box car that looks almost to be wearing a safety vest with some yellow and orange flare. This is our ATIP car. Inside of this car lives some very important computer technology. Next slide, please. ATIP cars are used to generate extensive data set on track health used for proactive track and roadway maintenance and future capital planning. Thanks to the effectiveness of ATIP cars running in regular train service at track speed without consuming precious track capacity, we are seeing these tools inspect over 95% of CN's gross ton miles. This has further led to a 90% improvement in track geometry KPIs, or another way of saying this would be conditions per 100 miles of inspected track. CN currently has 10 ATIP cars in our fleet, making it the largest fleet of fully automated track inspection cars in North America. These ATIP cars use the latest sensors and AI technology, which measures far beyond what the eye can see. ATIP inspects rail integrity on an ongoing basis by using state-of-the-art sensing technologies to capture track data. The data is then analyzed by algorithms and AI to prioritize and schedule rail repairs. The ATIP technology captures pictures and looks at the distance apart from one rail to the other, the shape of the rail, cross-level deviation and alignment, health of the railway ties, micro defects in the rail, and ultimately assists with predictive and preventive maintenance. This is what the portal looks like, almost like a barn from the side. It's nondescript and benign to look at, but it is anything further. It provides real-time speed evaluation utilizing patented algorithms, discovers thousands of possible defects, and alerts mechanical crews to inspect and maintain the track. It uses AI to spot and alert mechanical to inspect the train, or in a serious instance, to stop the train immediately. It also improves capacity by improving the dwell time in yards and on tracks awaiting inspection and maintenance. Next slide, please. Wayside detector technology is equipment that CN installs adjacent or near its tracks. It provides real-time information on safety and operation of the train to the rail traffic controller and the train crew. This technology tells us so much important information. Hot box and wheel detectors are used to detect hot journals, bearings, and wheels. They can stop the train immediately. In 2022, these temperature detectors scanned over 400,000 train movements in a month. Dragging equipment detectors are detecting whether cables or other parts of the train are not secured and flailing, which could cause injury and harm to pedestrians or vehicles at crossings. Acoustic bearing detectors they're looking for, are the wheels making the right sounds as the train moves along the rails and tracks? And wheel profile detectors, these capture a profile or image of the wheels while in motion to ensure that there are no abnormalities. Wheel impact load detectors measure for irregular forces on the rail and identify flat or broken wheels and shifted loads. So as you can see, these detectors help identify a problem before it can cause a significant or serious outcome. Next slide, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. I think this is my turn.
Yep.
All right. Let's keep going, JP. We can stop there. Thank you. For the most part, this section of this presentation will cover how CN partners and supports communities where we operate on safety externally, as this is probably the most relevant portion for you. However, there's still some interesting information you may want to know about. CN operates 2 state-of-the-art and what we truly believe to be industry-leading rail training facilities. One in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and a second one in Homewood, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. These facilities are part of our training campuses for Canadian and US employees and new hires. But they also serve to train customers, dangerous goods personnel, and first responders on best practices when it comes to train-related incidents. Next slide, please. We invest in first responders and communities through which we operate. The state-of-the-art facilities that are also designed to provide specific and unique training to first responders and employees of our customers. Specifically, CN has one 8-hour course for first responders that provides derailment or rail-related incident training. Each of these facilities are unique in that both campuses offer a blend of theoretical and hands-on training for transportation, engineering, mechanical employees, and first responders. At both campuses, employees don't just learn about CN's safety culture, they live it. Employees live the culture of looking out for each other. They learn what it means to commit to safety and how to identify and control the exposures that they may be subject to. Our culture of zero, meaning zero harm, zero fatality, and zero injuries, is believed by everyone that goes through our campuses. And this is reinforced through the reflection on many of our leaders who have retired with 30 years plus service without sustaining a single injury throughout their careers. We offer training in a variety of ways through hands-on training, scenario-based training, through labs, track and equipment dedicated to the campus. We also offer virtual reality simulations to fully immerse the learning in a controlled environment during hands-on training. Next slide, please. In this picture, you'll see some of our training equipment. On the top is a tank car that has a cutaway so that trainees can see how it's constructed on the inside. On the left is a container that serves as a classroom on a flatbed car that can be transported to yards throughout our network, where on either side you will have the different types of tank valves that may be encountered on dangerous goods tank cars. And on the right, you'll have a training trailer. These are pulled behind pickup trucks that could be brought anywhere. And these also have different kinds of valves and appendages that you'll encounter on railway equipment. These are all great hands-on training for familiarization tools for first responders. Next slide, please. CN values its relationships with the leaders and stakeholders in the communities through which it operates. We always strive to build and develop our relationships ahead of the incidents to establish open lines of communications before they're needed. In this slide, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Close to 10% of everything we moved is considered a dangerous good. However, the good news is that 99.99% of all of the dangerous goods shipped arrive at destination without incident and without release. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that rail is probably the safest and most efficient way to move goods that, while dangerous, are necessary for our economy and our livelihood. Next slide, please. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I would say that wildfire season is now a thing. And to address that, CN has its own firefighting fleet. CN's firefighting train fleet consists of trains aptly named Trident, Neptune, Poseidon, that have been a critical part of our fire strategy. And they were deployed in instances such as Jasper Park's wildfires in the summer of 2024. CN's fleet will continue to grow as there are additional fire trains in the planning and design stages. The allocation of the fleet is based on immediate needs as well as historical data. These resources allow CN to conduct assessments of the right-of-way, fight fires adjacent to the tracks, and get Canada's supply chain moving. We work in tandem with incident commanders and local fire responders. CN recently announced that it has expanded its firefighting capabilities with new assets and upgraded to its specialized fire suppression fleet. Building on its 2024 wildfire season response, CN has strengthened its ability to protect its network infrastructure and support local firefighters during another severe wildfire season. This year, CN introduced 2 independent firefighting rail cars, Oceanus and Amphitrite, each carrying 25,000 gallons of water and equipped with cannons, pumps, and hoses to support. The units can be deployed rapidly and operated either independently or as part of a larger train. CN has also launched a pilot program testing fire trailers for smaller fires along the right-of-way. Each trailer holds 350 gallons of water and features a fixed water cannon for off-track wildfire response. Next slide, please. CN monitors fire danger levels through the Canadian Wildfire Information System, CWFIS. When it comes to firefighting assets, supports, and preventions, you will see railroads come together and collaborate. CN has leveraged other carriers' assets as well as sent equipment for other carriers during incidents. We map and keep detailed inventory of other carriers' equipment along with the drive times to ensure that we are using the closest assets available. Fire suppression equipment or kits are available on all track equipment and inspection vehicles. We work closely with local fire chiefs and are in regular communications regarding operations, especially in emergency evacuation zones, as has been the case in Alberta over the last several weeks. While CN's firefighting trailers are designed and positioned for flammable liquids and liquefied petroleum gas movements, they also have fire pumps, hoses, frameless dump tanks, and laydown equipment applicable to other types of fires along the right-of-way. These details, among others, form CN's extreme fire risk mitigation plan that is shared with Transport Canada. On the right side of this slide, you'll see a photo of Poseidon, CN's firefighting consist currently staged in Alberta. Next slide, please. Emergency response. Let's keep going. The image on your right of the slide depicts the locations of CN's environment and dangerous good officers across our network. It also depicts the critical response times and the local relationships. Environmental officers ensure that regulators are informed of impacts to environment and potential impacts to our neighbors. They oversee the remedial efforts following an incident, which can take years to clear up. They ensure that local property owners and neighbors are made whole during and following the incident, and will work to make sure that the area is left equal to, if not better than before the incident. Dangerous goods officers, or DGOs as we call them, work in tandem with transportation at incidents where dangerous goods are involved. The DGOs will devise a plan to safely isolate the dangerous good cars and implement a plan to extricate the dangerous goods to ensure the safety of CN workers, the local community, and the CN dangerous goods teams, as they work with local fire responders to maintain relationships continuously. When an incident occurs, the first call that the mayor will receive will typically be from the local fire chief. CN strives to be the second call the mayor receives. Next slide, please. How do first responders know what's moving on a train through their territories and in their neighborhoods? By using Ask Rail. Ask Rail is a real-time hazardous material data that will provide first responders with instant information about the contents of a rail car, including hazardous material, simply by entering the rail car's ID. It'll allow visibility on the train consist, meaning the contents of the entire train and not just a single car. It provides emergency contact information for all of the Class 1 railroads and participating short lines. It provides also a mapping tool that'll give features such as isolation zones and points of interest, such as mileposts and grade crossings. Finally, the information contained therein is also available in English, French, and in Spanish for Mexico. Next slide, please. Community partnerships. Finally, we want to end on some partnership activities. Spill drills are a great way to partner with local emergency responders, our regulators, local government, and stakeholders to practice some very important skills. These type of proactive investments help us get ahead of any incident to ensure timely and effective assistance for our partner communities. CN will assess community needs post-event and will be there to support as needed. We feel that these partnerships are an invaluable part of our stakeholder engagement activities. Thank you. Next slide. that concludes the formal presentation part, and I believe now it's time to go to some questions. Back to you, Evan.
And thank you. I'm particularly struck by how collaborative and cohesive some of those wildfire fighting efforts are. That's super, super interesting. Can you just speak quickly to how you would work with other railway companies to deploy those assets? I just think that's really, really interesting that you would share those pieces of equipment.
Absolutely, Evan. So what we do is we ensure that that other class ones know where our assets are staged, and we also have mapped out where their assets are staged, and we share these assets. So if ever there's a fire that occurs, then they can go ahead and grab the closest equipment to the infrastructure that needs attention, as can we. And so we have a sharing program where, you know, people will be able to get the assets that's closest to the fire.
It's great. Fire obviously doesn't discriminate, so why should we? Thanks for that. I have a couple questions prepared for both Jackie and Wang, but thank you first for that presentation. That was very, very interesting. I'll ask first, with safety as a shared responsibility, what can municipalities do when safety concerns are raised in their community? And that's for each of you. So whoever would like to start first, Jackie, if you'd like.
Sure. I'll start first. This is near and dear to my heart. Safety is a shared responsibility. So municipalities and road authorities play a big role in that, along with the railroad. So some actions that they can take to respond effectively. First of all, engage with the railway company, report and escalate immediately when needed. If the concern is an immediate safety issue, such as a vehicle stuck on the tracks, a washout, a warning device issue, call the railroad emergency number. This is posted on the blue emergency notification sign at all railroad crossings. It lists the railroad name, the emergency number, along with the subdivision and mileposts where the crossing is located. It is very important to call this number because it has direct communication with our rail traffic controllers, who may be able to notify trains in the area and have them come to a stop until the safety issue is resolved. If the concern is other than an immediate safety issue, work directly with your railroad contact to work collaboratively to resolve the issues. If you don't know who to contact, most railways have a contact us feature on their website, who will put you in direct contact with the correct person or team to help with your issue. Other ways that communities can take action is conduct risk assessments, evaluate the nature of the safety concern, and use data and community feedback to prioritize the areas that need attention. Again, work collaboratively on solutions with the railway company. You can work together on upgrading crossings or installing fencing or other barriers, following proximity guidelines on new developments and rail corridors, advocate for infrastructure improvements. And finally, the last way you can educate the public. Promote rail safety awareness campaigns in your schools and neighborhoods near the tracks. Operation Lifesaver or railway company community liaisons will come right to your area and provide a presentation in person. You can also share railway safety tips on social media or your municipal websites. Over to you, Wang.
I don't know that there's much to add. I will go to the
Sorry.
next question.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. My colleague Andrea has just dropped the proximity guides that FCM produced a few years ago in collaboration with the Railway Association of Canada. So these, of course, were developed for land use planning around rail corridors, and they contain some best practices for planning. From your perspective, Jackie, what would be some of the most important planning considerations when undertaking new development near tracks?
First and foremost would be to review and understand the guidelines. Some of the key planning considerations for a successful development near the rail corridors would be respect the setbacks and buffers. So review the recommended building setbacks for the new development and maintain safe distances between the buildings and tracks. Communities can also use berms, fencing, and landscaping for separation. The second step would be prevent drainage concerns with the changes in grading or stormwater patterns for the new development. It can cause flooding or erosion near the railway tracks if not properly designed. The third key consideration would be understanding the noise and vibrations. Incorporate soundproofing and vibration control in the new building design to avoid disputes over noise and vibrations that the railway operations may create. Take a look at emergency access and evacuation. Ensure that there's clear routes for emergency services and evacuation plans. Understand the impacts to grade crossing safety. New developments often increase vehicular and pedestrian traffic at those nearby railway crossings, requiring infrastructure improvements. Also look at avoiding creating a new grade crossing, look at consolidating crossings if possible, or improve the existing crossings nearby. Railway collaboration is key. Engage the railway early in the planning process. Reach out to the railway's proximity team here at CN. We have an easy to remember email address that you can use by reaching out to proximity at cn.ca, where we review and provide comments on all the applications that are submitted for development near the tracks. And lastly, follow the regulatory compliance, follow all federal, provincial, and municipal guidelines.
Excellent. Andrew, could I just get you to repeat that email address in the chat, just in case anyone wants to jot that down on a Post-it note? I think it was proximity@cn.ca.
That is correct.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Jackie. Wang, I've got a bit of a heavy one for you. In recent years, there's been several notable rail incidents that have garnered international attention. These, of course, include the East Palestine derailment in the US and Lac-Mégantic in Quebec. More recently, we've seen the impacts of wildfires on communities and the railway across Canada. So my question is, what does CN do to mitigate and respond to these issues? And I know this is a big question, but I think we're all eager to hear your thoughts on this one.
It is, and thank you for the question, Evan. It's a good one. There's a lot to unpack, but why don't we focus on technology? I think that the lens we use for technology as a preventative or as a defensive measure is a strong one. And if we can prevent the incident from occurring, well then we're not going to have to deal with the fallout and the other side of what we call the bow tie in our risk assessment. So we're not going to deal with consequences. We're going to deal with preventing the incident. Starting with the wildfires, we currently are partnered with a company that uses technology to identify hotspots and forecast wildfire progress using sensors, cameras, satellite information, weather station, and mixing in AI. And that just allows us to be proactive in how we respond to wildfires, and it also increases our effectiveness. So this is a great way to just kind of get ahead of the risk. Jackie spoke about our detector strategy, but I want to just double click on one particular strategy to illustrate how it's hardened our infrastructure. The acoustic bearing detectors. Mechanically, when you think about a rail car, it can fail in 3 spots. Normally, it's either the wheel, the axle, or the bearings. And if we look at the bearings, there are 2 types of detectors that address bearing defects. One of them is based on heat. So basically, it'll send a signal up and measure the temperature of the bearing. And if that temperature spikes, it means that something bad is going on with the bearing. What an acoustic detector does is it allows me to see a failure about 6 months ahead of time. So if I have a car that generates a strange sound, I can know that that bearing is likely to present an issue within about 6 months' time. And what that has allowed us to do is not only almost eradicate the bearing problem or the risk associated with bearings completely, but it allows us to plan our service of the bearings. So we have essentially 6 months that track that car, and not to stop the train immediately, inconveniencing communities because we may be blocking crossings, but cycling that car to the next good opportunity to pull it out of service and to service the car and make it safe. So this is how this type of technology has dramatically reduced the in-service failures of a key component on a rail car. So that's a type of technology and how it really benefits safety on our network. So prevention, really, deploying technology to kind of prevent these incidents before they occur and hardening our infrastructure. I think that's a good way to address these risks.
Thank you for that. I have a few more questions of my own, but it seems we've got some audience questions, and I'd like to get to those as quick as we can. The first one I have here is, how are culvert crossings monitored for effectiveness and possibly increased in size? And that's in particular risk of atmospheric river flows, was in brackets.
So we do have a culvert program, and so this is something that's monitored and also checked to make sure that they're free flowing. I don't know, Jackie, if there's anything more that you can add to that in terms of programs for culverts.
No, I don't have anything to add, Wayne. Thank you.
Great.
And perhaps it may be worth saying is that we subscribe to all kinds of weather alerts. So we do have heavy rainfall alerts, and these are all localized. So whenever there's a weather pattern that may affect a specific piece of infrastructure, i.e. heavy weatherfall, then we will enact protocols to have the track patrolled to ensure that there are no washouts or no high water levels and so on. And so we have a lot of these alerts baked into our infrastructure, where if there are strange weather patterns that may affect the reliability of our infrastructure, then there will be a process where we will inspect the track before we release any traffic over it.
Excellent. The next question I have is with respect to extreme heat and drought becoming the norm. Are vegetation row plans, that might be an acronym, capital ROW, plans updated, and are they also sent to Transport Canada?
I don't know that they're sent to Transport Canada. Our ROW is right of way. So we do monitor that, and we do have a program. And typically what we want to do is we want to keep vegetation away from the right of way. That allows us for the most efficient inspection of the track. So it's important for us to be able to see the condition of the ballast, the condition of the ties, and the condition of the rail. And if you have all kinds of vegetation growing around there, you typically don't have a good line of sight into the condition of your infrastructure. So this is something. It's also, you want to clear it out and make sure that there's no fuel, because vegetation ultimately becomes fuel around the track. And the railway just happens to be a very good natural fire break in many places along the country. So if you have that natural fire break where there's no fuel, where there's a lesser chance of anything catching on fire, well, that benefits everyone.
Excellent. Thanks for those questions, folks. If there's more, please drop them in the Slido. We'd love to hear your questions, and I think both Jackie and Wang would love to field them. Jackie, do you have any guidance to offer municipalities where municipal and railroad infrastructure intersect?
Yes, thank you. Some of these key ideas are things that have already been mentioned, but one of the most important things is communication, and that's two-way communication between the railway and the road authority. So if you don't know who your railroad contact is in your area, get to know that person. Establish regular meetings and touch points between the two parties. We can use those meetings for planning, both your road planning and our maintenance planning, and share updates and schedules where we can collaborate together. We can look at prioritizing grade crossing safety together, signal improvements or pedestrian safety improvements, and explore grant or funding opportunities for shared infrastructure projects. Take a look at long-term planning and land use. Include your railroad partner in that comprehensive planning, and consider rail corridors in your development reviews to avoid future conflicts. Some other things you can do besides collaborating and communicating is, again, that community engagement through Operation Lifesaver and the railway liaison. Additionally, you can plan on joint emergency collaboration for incidents like derailments, hazardous material spills, some of the things that Wang touched on, the joint training exercises with local fire, police, and EMS. So if there's 3 major takeaways for today, it's communication, collaboration, and education.
Excellent. I've just clocked that the email address in the chat there is incorrect. That's proximity@cn.ca, not fcm.ca. We'll certainly direct you to our key contacts at CN if you do email us. But that does beg the question, Jackie, is there a sort of general mailbox for municipal contacts within CN, or should they just get to know you folks some other way?
The non-emergency email address is contact@cn.ca, and that will put you in touch with the right person at CN. The Public Works team, we have our own page on the website. You can put in your area and it will connect you with the right Public Works contact for your area. So feel free to use that feature as well.
Excellent. Now, I know this isn't core business for CN necessarily, but if we could, maybe we could talk about passenger rail for just a couple minutes. Now, Wang, given your experience in this area, maybe you're the best one to address this. But across Canada, we see passenger rail services relying on primarily owned track infrastructure to operate, with Via Rail across Canada and Metrolinx in the GTA as examples. But many communities want to see more rail or train stations in their towns. And so what information or advice would you share about issues related to those bits of infrastructure? And yeah.
So thank you for the question. I get this one a lot. And CN does not operate any passenger rail. Passenger trains. We own a lot of rail infrastructure. And so passenger operators operate on our lines. What I would say is this: I would say that if there's a community looking to obtain passenger services, really it's to speak to an operator and say, hey, I would like to explore this for my community, and then they would come to CN and request access to our infrastructure. So my message is that CN is open for business, and so we are always willing to entertain the conversation with the passenger operator to see, hey, what type of access are they looking for, in what location, and what that can look like. But because we don't operate passenger trains, we are not the people to offer the service. And really, it's to look to connect with the service provider as a first step, and then we'll have conversations with the service provider once they come to us and say, hey, I'd like access to the infrastructure.
Excellent. I have another question going back to your presentation, and it's related to your training facility. And out of curiosity, is that open for municipal first responders to undergo training, or is it purely for CN training opportunities?
Oh no, so we train a few thousand municipal first responders a year in each one of these training facilities. So definitely talk to your local PAO and public affairs officer working for CN, and we have training scheduled, and we are more than happy to host the train and to give people knowledge and exposure to the railway side of the operations and emergency preparedness.
Excellent. Very, very cool. So we saw a lot of new technology, new things that CN is doing. Is there anything in particular that get either of you really excited about safety and the work that you do? Or things that maybe are coming?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that, the whole technology bit and the integration of artificial intelligence and working on algorithms to just kind of make things that much better, that much safer, and to make sure that all of our things are working smoothly together, i.e. the detector technology and the portals, and the ATIP program. That it's a very exciting time. You know, people don't think about railway as cutting edge technology companies, but certainly, you know, the stuff that we're deploying is certainly cutting edge, and it'll bring in, I would say, more than just marginal improvements of safety over the next couple of years. It'll really enhance safety. So that part really excites me.
You, Jackie?
I agree. The AI feature is very exciting. Think about the volume of data that it crunches through, provides reports, prioritizes repairs, and then the technology itself, how detailed it is, that it can pick up defects more than the human eye. So to me, that's very exciting and makes our jobs more efficient and our rail operations safe.
That's excellent. Thanks so much. If there's any final questions, maybe I'll allow a minute or two just to drop those in the Slido. And if there are none, I will thank our presenters today for their time and for their knowledge. So thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Wang, and thank you also to CN for your knowledge and collaboration in support of today's session. The recording of today's conversation will be posted on fcm.ca in the coming days. So please feel free to share it as a resource with your colleagues, with your first responders, anyone you choose. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, our next FCM Collective webinar will take place on October 22nd, and it will be entitled Financing Water and Wastewater Infrastructure to Support Housing Growth, presented in partnership with the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. So, seeing no new questions, I'll say a final thank you and wish you all well. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.